My toppings be, man. Don't mess with my damn toppings.
Pacific Rim Uprising had everything it needed to be great, but it stumbled like a Jaeger missing a co-pilot.
You and I both know you could have been great.
It's still giant robots, massive kaiju, and a chance to expand upon the epic world that Guillermo del Toro built, not to mention the solid casting.
Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Actually, this time, they're canceling the whole franchise. Whatever went wrong, it's still a wild ride. Giant robots? Check. Bigger kaiju? Check. The same heart-pounding intensity? Not quite.
Initiating neural handshake.
So what worked and what went haywire? Or did Pacific Rim 1 doom Uprising from the start?
You enter this program, you join a family.
Before we jump in, hit like and subscribe, unless you want an evil AI to hack your Jaeger. Okay, let's get to it. Pacific Rim Uprising takes place 10 years after the events of the first film. The breach is closed and the kaiju are gone. Or so they thought.
So one more time around, huh? Prove your old man wrong?
With humanity still building Jaegers, but now it's to police each other. I mean, the world has moved on from the kaiju war. Kinda. But instead of the gritty industrial warfare of the first film, we get something brighter and more polished. Literally, all the fights are in the daytime, which we will talk about soon.
My generation, we were born into war.
But you know how this works, so let's break down the characters first, then the breakdown, then the review. Let's go. Let's start with our main guy, Jake Pentecost, played by John Boyega. The name alone sounds like he should be a living legend, right? He's the son of Stacker Pentecost, the man who gave humanity the most iconic pep talk of all time, and, you know, saved the world on his spare time. Stacker was played by Idris Elba.
I have dishonored my marshmallow.
No, not that Idris Elba.
I'm Black Superman.
I mean, I guess you're getting closer.
Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Yeah, that's the one, Stacker Pentecost. Jake grew up in the shadow of a legend who rarely even acknowledged his existence. Stacker Pentecost mentored Mako, inspired pilots worldwide, but never even mentioned that he had a son. So it's no surprise that Jake rejects all of the responsibility that his father embodied. So instead of leading a new generation of Jaeger pilots, Jake would rather be raiding an old Jaeger graveyard for parts and selling them on the black market. Or better yet, throwing a huge house party in a half-destroyed mansion.
Can't blame the girl. I'm sexy.
While Stacker was a no-nonsense leader who could silence a room with a single glare, Jake is more of a charmer, a talker, and a master of avoiding responsibility. The guy's got charisma, no doubt about that, but when it comes to commanding the Jaeger program like his dad, well, let's just say that he's not exactly delivering the same level of inspirational speeches.
I was a big fan of your father's. Amazing speechwriter, by the way. Did you ever hear his one where he canceled the apocalypse?
So what's Jake's arc in this movie? He's the rebellious, reluctant hero. Just like Raleigh Beckett from the first movie, but with less brooding and more partying. He wants nothing to do with the Jaeger program until he's forced back into it. He spends half of the movie pushing back against responsibility and the other half scrambling to catch up on being a hero. The problem with this is that it seems like his turnaround comes a little too easy. Yes, I know his sister died, but one minute he's dodging duty and the next he's leading the fight against a world-ending threat like he's been training for it his entire life. There's no real struggle, no moment of doubt, just boom, hero time. But hey, at least he's having fun, right? And honestly, so are we. If you can say anything about Uprising, it's that it's more happy fun time than the original. Now let's talk about Mako Mori. Remember her? The badass pilot who had one of the best arcs in the first movie? Well, in Uprising, she's back. For about 5 minutes.
That's it?
That's it. Mako returns as a high-ranking official in the Pan-Pacific Defense Corps. She's pretty much the new Stacker, trying to keep the world safe from future kaiju threats. But before she can make any real impact in the story, boom, she's taken out in a rogue Jaeger attack. And yes, her death is supposed to be a catalyst for Jake's growth, but it feels rushed and kind of wasteful. A character who saved the world from the ultimate kaiju apocalypse deserved a better send-off.
She was my sister. Family.
And what about Raleigh Beckett, the hero of the first movie? he's not even mentioned. Well, I guess he is mentioned once.
Like Riley Beckett and Makamori.
No cameo, no flashback, not even a throwaway line of what happened to him. Did he retire? Did he die? Did he just ghost humanity after saving it? Well, I guess we'll just never know. And talk about forgotten, look at the memorial wall. Do you see anyone missing? Where is Chuck?
You just hold back your little girlfriend. One of you needs a leash.
I mean, I know he wasn't the nicest guy, but just to leave him off the wall. Next up, Amara Namani, played by Kaylee Spaney. A street-smart, Jaeger-obsessed teen who built her own mini Jaeger she called Scrapper.
Look what you did to my Jaeger, you jerk!
She's rebellious and resourceful, but feels like she was just added so that they could turn this into a Power Rangers reboot. Teenage attitude? Check. Forced mentor-student dynamic? Check.
Scrapper is small enough to run on a single neural node.
Her backstory? Tragic. Check. Because of course it is. She lost her family in a kaiju attack and built Scrapper as her way of fighting back. But it's really just because she's scared. Probably all of the time. She's traumatized from watching a kaiju stomp out her entire family.
I built her because one day they're gonna come back.
She's smart, but her role feels like a token teen genius more than a natural fit. When she gets recruited into the Jaeger program, she struggles with teamwork, but eventually learns that being a pilot means trusting others.
Welcome to the Chateau.
Her relationship with Jake is decent. He sees a bit of his younger self in her and reluctantly becomes her mentor. But does their dynamic add much to the story? Not really. I mean, not anything good anyways. And then there's Nate Lambert, played by Scott Eastwood. He's the typical strict soldier with a heart of gold trope. So where's the problem? Well, he's forgettable. He seems to lack the presence to really stand out among the cast.
I'd appreciate if you'd stop thinking about jewels. Not gonna happen.
His relationship with Jake is built on a former rivalry that turned into an unsteady friendship. They were once co-pilots, but whenever Jake bailed, Nate stayed, carrying the burden of being the responsible one.
You and I both know you could have been great.
But if anything about Nate works, is that you can tell that he and Jake have history. Their bickering has a familiar edge, even if their arc never really pays off. It's less Maverick and Iceman and more two old roommates that still annoy each other but can't help but having each other's backs.
Jake, these kids, they look up to us. We gotta show them that we can work together.
And then there's Newt, played by Charlie Day. He's different this time. Remember how he drifted with a kaiju brain in the first movie? Yeah, that kinda messed him up.
I still get nightmares.
Because big plot twist, Newton is now the villain.
It was a hell of a rush, wasn't it?
At first, it feels like Newt was just dealing with his trauma like everyone else, and then nope, he's completely evil. Well, sort of. He's being mind controlled by the precursors. Remember the aliens who sent the kaiju in the first place? But the mind control doesn't seem like it was that hard to make happen. He's always been a kaiju sympathizer.
I studied them. And unlike most people, I want to see one alive and up close one day.
Here's the thing, this twist had major potential, but again, the execution just felt rushed. And Charlie Day did his best to elevate the material, and he kind of did, but not even his energy could save how rushed this twist felt.
What did you just do?
What I've been planning the last 10 years.
And then there's Herman, played by Bern Gorman. And he's the only one still acting like he's in a Pacific Rim movie. While Newt went way off the deep end, Herman stayed and committed to finding out how to stop the next kaiju attack. But it does seem like he was affected by the kaiju drift too, just not as extreme as Newt.
Now that was you, and that was me. Technically more me, but any chance we can make this quick? Or...
Instead of being the sharp and precise mathematician that he was, he's now a bit scattered, almost taking on some of Newt's old quirkiness. He rambles more, struggles to organize his thoughts, and seems to have a harder time expressing his ideas clearly.
It takes too much time, the amount of damage a kaiju can inflict before they've been... here.
His dynamic with Newt, once one of the highlights of the first film, feels rushed here. And it's almost like the movie didn't know what to do with him once Newt went full villain mode.
Yeah, no.
Again, it's a legacy character, and I just feel like he deserves more than this. And then there's Lei Win Chao, a tech entrepreneur who wants to replace human pilots with drone Jaegers, believing her drones can do a better job than people strapped into a metal box.
This new drone program they have could make us all obsolete.
She's tough, unbending, and even whenever she's not the villain, she gives off serious villain energy. Like she's always a snap of her fingers away from taking over the world. And I guess we need to talk about the new Jaeger cadets. They feel like they were designed to sell action figures, but instead they come off like Ender's Game rejects. The only one that really stands out is Vic, the Russian cadet. And not because she's particularly deep, it's because she's the only one given enough lines to register as a complete character. She's tough, she's competent, and she is consistently irritated at the others, which honestly is relatable given how forgettable the rest of them are. To be honest, there's just too many of them to start to care. Now it's time for what you've all been waiting for, the Jaeger Lineup. Gypsy Avenger, piloted by Jake Pentecost and Nate Lambert. Gypsy Avenger carries the legacy of its predecessor, Gypsy Danger, while improving on speed and agility. This Jaeger is a versatile combat machine, designed for both offense and defense, equipped with gravity slings, plasma cannons, and rocket-assisted punches. It's built to take down threats with precision and power. Bracer Phoenix, the powerhouse of the Jaeger lineup. Bracer Phoenix is a heavy-duty brawler designed for maximum durability. It's built like a walking fortress, capable of tanking devastating blows and firing its massive vortex cannon from its chest, delivering a devastating long-range attack. When this Jaeger steps into battle, it means business. Saber Athena, the most agile of the Jaegers, Saber Athena is a precision-based fighter designed for speed and close-quarters combat. Armed with dual plasma swords, it's the fastest Jaeger ever built, capable of acrobatic maneuvers and lightning-fast strikes. Saber Athena's fluid and high-speed combat style makes it a deadly force on the battlefield. Guardian Bravo, a Jaeger built for versatility and crowd control. Guardian Bravo wields arc whip technology, allowing it to lasso and disarm opponents with electrified whips. It's an extremely tactical combatant designed to immobilize threats and turn the tide of battle in very unexpected ways. Scrapper, piloted by Amara Namani and Lei Win Chao. A true underdog, Scrapper is small but incredibly resourceful. And unlike the massive Jaegers, it relies on speed, maneuverability, and ingenuity to evade and counter threats. Built entirely from salvaged parts, Scrapper proves that sometimes brains can outmatch brawn. It even has the ability to roll into a compact sphere for quick escapes, making it one of the most unique and adaptable Jaegers in the fleet. Well, now in the fleet. November Ajax. Designed as an enforcement Jaeger, November Ajax is built for maintaining order rather than fighting kaiju. Armed with riot suppression technology, it excels at crowd control and non-lethal takedowns. Though it isn't a frontline fighter, its presence alone ensures that the PPDC keeps a firm grip on security. Obsidian Fury, a terrifying advanced Jaeger, Obsidian Fury is a nightmare version of Gypsy Avenger, built for pure destruction. With blazing orange energy cores, twin arm-mounted chainsaws, and inhumanly fast reflexes, it moves like a relentless predator. Every attack is calculated for maximum devastation, making it one of the most dangerous opponents any pilot has ever faced. The Rogue Drones and Kaiju Jaeger hybrids. They're controlled by sellout Jaeger pilots and secret Kaiju brains. Originally designed as the future of Jaeger warfare, these autonomous war machines were meant to eliminate the need for human pilots. However, after being hacked by the precursors, they evolved into Kaiju Jaeger hybrids, merging organic Kaiju tissue with advanced Jaeger engineering. The result, a terrifying fusion of brute force, intelligence, and unstoppable aggression. These hybrids represent the worst case scenario. Technology falling into the hands of an enemy that knows exactly how to use it. But okay, now it's time to break this thing down. The movie opens with Jake Pentecost, son of Stacker Pentecost, scavenging Jaeger parts in the ruins of a post-war world. He's not the heroic pilot his father was. Instead, he's fully embraced the criminal underworld. Jake isn't just looting abandoned Jaeger scrapyards. He's running a full-scale black market operation, trading stolen tech and luxury goods so that he can throw wild parties in abandoned mansions.
You have to hustle, or somebody else might eat your breakfast.
Jake's hustle takes him to a scrapyard where he crosses paths with Amara Namani, a teenage Jaeger fanatic who built her own mini Jaeger named Scrapper. Amara is there to salvage a crucial Jaeger core, desperate to complete her homemade machine. Jake, always looking for valuable tech, sees the core as his way out of a very bad situation, because if he doesn't deliver, some very dangerous people are going to make sure he never hustles again.
Jake. Nice try.
When she salvages this Jaeger core, Jake intervenes, hoping to steal it for himself. But the argument escalates to a full-blown standoff with Amara refusing to back down. But just as things are about to get heated, November Ajax, a law enforcement Jaeger, arrives to shut down their operation. Thinking fast, Amara jumps into Scrapper and takes off, leading them on an intense chase through the scrapyard. Despite Scrapper's surprising agility, Ajax ultimately overpowers them, leading to their arrest and transport to the Shatter Dome, setting up their reluctant recruitment to the Pan-Pacific Defense Corps. Basically, Jake is given an ultimatum: return to the Jaeger program or rot in prison. So, at the Shatter Dome, we meet Nate Lambert, Jake's former co-pilot and best frenemy. They have a complicated history, once close partners in the cockpit, but after Jake walked away from the PPDC, their bond fractured. And you can kind of tell that Nate sees Jake's return as nothing more than a big joke, a washed up dropout getting one last chance that he doesn't deserve.
You gotta be kidding me. I didn't believe it when they told me you were inbound.
Nepotism, baby! The tension between them is immediate, but Jake is all charm, deflecting and brushing off all of his past mistakes, which only pisses Nate off even more. It all boils down to Nate stayed, Jake bailed, and now they're forced to work together again, whether they like it or not. And before they even get to pilot a Jaeger again for real, Jake and Nate's first official mission is to stand at a ceremony. That's right. 2 highly trained Jaeger pilots are assigned to literally stand in place while dignitaries give speeches. It's honestly a ridiculous sight considering every step they take cracks the concrete beneath them. It's like putting a wrecking ball on a balance beam and expecting nothing to break. But before they can die of boredom, a mysterious black Jaeger, Obsidian Fury, crashes the party and attacks Sydney. Unlike traditional Jaegers, it moves fast and fights with brutal efficiency.
Pilots of a registered Jaeger, power down and exit your con pod immediately.
Caught off guard, Jake and Nate take Gypsy Avenger into battle, but right away, something feels off. Obsidian Fury isn't just another Jaeger, it's faster, it's more precise, and it fights with an almost organic level of aggression. Unlike standard Jaegers, which rely on 2 pilots working in sync, this one moves like it has a single deadly purpose, you know? Every attack from Obsidian Fury is calculated, every strike is designed to overwhelm, and it's working. Gypsy Avenger can barely keep up, and the fight crashes through Sydney's skyline, with buildings crumbling under their massive blows. As the battle rages on, tragedy strikes. Mako Mori, now a high-ranking PPDC official, is en route to the ceremony in a helicopter. When she sees what's happening, she scans it and discovers vital intel on the rogue Jaeger. But before she can relay it, Obsidian Fury locks on to her aircraft. A missile strikes and the explosion destroys the helicopter's tail, sending it into a violent spin. Jake sees it all happen in slow motion. He screams Mako's name and pushes Gypsy Danger faster than he ever has, desperate to reach her. But there's nothing he can do. The chopper slams into the city below, erupting into a massive fireball. Jake freezes. His sister, the last piece of family that he had left, is gone just like that. Nate calls his name, but the world around him is drowned out by the sound of his own failure. Obsidian turns almost as if to admire its work before continuing its assault. Jake has no time to grieve, but he has completely left the con pod.
I'm not really good at emotional stuff, but I really am sorry about your sister.
But that's okay because Nate and Jake had struggled to coordinate their counterattacks anyways, and now shaken by Mako's sudden death, for a moment it looks like Obsidian Fury could actually just take them out. Then, just as suddenly as it appears, Obsidian Fury pauses mid-fight and glances up at the sky. Reinforcements, a squad of Jaegers is descending fast and ready to turn the tide. Instead of pressing the attack, Obsidian Fury immediately disengages. It saw what was coming and knew that it was time to go. But it wasn't just retreating, it was avoiding a full-scale fight. Whoever or whatever is controlling it, they aren't ready to show their full hand just yet. But one thing is clear, that this isn't over. But let's go back just a little bit. Newt is now working at Shaw Industries, acting shadier than usual, and Herman is growing suspicious. Not just that Newt is acting distant, but because he's just too different. Newt, once the excitable, talkative guy, is now just like a little CEO. His old obsession with Kaiju has evolved into something way more unsettling. He's no longer just studying them, he reveres them, he loves them. Herman notices this shift, but at first he assumes that it's just Newt's way of coping with the PTSD from the first war. However, the more he observes, the more it becomes clear Newt isn't just changing, there's something really wrong with him. He just doesn't want to believe it.
Sorry. She doesn't do the whole handshaking thing.
Enter Lei-Wen Shaw, the head of Shaw Industries, a cold and calculating business mogul pushing for a future where drone Jaegers replace human pilots entirely. Because of this, she clashes with PPDC leadership. But after the Sydney attack, her plans get the green light. And to be honest, it's probably the future. Remote-operated war machines make sense, but for some reason, the movie wants us to root against it. Like we're supposed to be for these pilots dying. After analyzing the wreckage from Sydney, PPCD intelligence discovers fragments of data Mako managed to send before her death. The corrupted transmission details something alarming. Obsidian Fury's energy signature matches that from a factory from the beginning of the Jaeger War. With this evidence in hand, Jake and Nate are sent to investigate the new readings in the frozen wastelands of Siberia, hoping to uncover the truth about who or what is controlling this rogue Jaeger.
Wait a second. Getting some weird readings.
That's when Obsidian Fury attacks again, this time in the icy wasteland of Siberia, targeting the crucial energy core facility. The attack isn't random. Whoever is controlling Obsidian Fury is destroying the evidence. The brutal, snow-covered battle that follows is unlike anything they've faced before. Gypsy Avenger holds its own this time, using the terrain to its advantage. Jake and Nate quickly adapt, using the icy environment to slow Obsidian Fury down, forcing it off its feet where its speed is way less effective. Every step sends ice and snow crashing beneath them, every strike echoing through the frozen air.
Hell yeah!
Gypsy Avenger fights hard, but Obsidian Fury's precision and relentless aggression makes it clear that this isn't just another Jaeger. It counters every attack with brutal efficiency, forcing Jake and Nate to push their sync to the limit. The battle takes them across glaciers and finally into a frozen lake where the fight reaches its peak. Obsidian Fury gains the upper hand, forcing Gypsy Avenger to crash through the ice, temporarily trapping it beneath the frozen surface. And just when it looks like the battle might be lost, Jake and Nate manage to overload their plasma cannon, firing a devastating blast that finally brings down the rogue Jaeger. As they approach the wreckage, expecting to find pilots inside, they discover something far worse.
What the hell is that?
It's a Kaiju brain. This realization is hard to compute. Obsidian Fury wasn't being piloted by humans at all. It wasn't just a rogue Jaeger, it was something far more terrifying. Meanwhile, Amara and the other cadets find themselves in some serious trouble. After discovering the wreckage of this rogue Kaiju Jaeger hybrid, they disobeyed direct orders and venture inside to investigate.
Working with boobs is sounding better and better.
What starts as a bold attempt to uncover the truth quickly turns into a disaster when Amara recklessly cuts into the wreckage, unknowingly releasing a pocket of corrosive Kaiju acid. The acid hits one of the cadets, Royo, severely injuring his arm. Panic sets in and the cadets scramble to get him out. Though their actions were driven by curiosity and a desire to prove themselves, they're reckless and they put themselves in danger. The incident leads to harsh reprimands from command, and for the first time, Amara realizes that being a Jaeger pilot isn't just about bravery. It's about knowing when to follow orders and when to take calculated risks that are in the best interest of this weird little family that they've made.
The minute you enter this program, you join a family.
Jake, despite his own history of rule breaking, is forced to step up as a leader after Mako dies. He defends them, but he also makes it clear that they crossed the line. But it's not enough, and Amara is kicked out of the program.
Never belonged here anyway.
I mean, look at the look Jake gives her.
Because you're me.
Oh, and this is when Herman gets a mission.
A mission? Finally.
And discovers that Newt has been mind controlled by the precursors ever since he drifted with the Kaiju brain in the first film. But it's more than just mind control. Newt's embraced it. His obsession with the Kaiju has escalated into something deeply unsettling. Like the deep level of unsettling.
Don't patronize me, Kevin.
Turns out he's been keeping a piece of Kaiju brain in his apartment, and it's not just for research. He talks to it, he caresses it, and honestly, the relationship feels a little bit too intimate for comfort. So under alien influence and maybe his own unique interests, Newt has corrupted Shaw Industries' drone Jaegers, which suddenly go full Kaiju and unleash chaos at the Shatterdome. The entire world is caught off guard as the Kaiju drone Jaegers, once meant to be the next step in human defense, turn on their own creators. Their defense system is completely unprepared for an attack from within, and the drones strike with surgical precision. In a matter of seconds, what once was humanity's strongest defense network is reduced to rubble. But that's just the beginning of the plan. The Kaiju drone Jaegers open a new breach, allowing 3 massive Jaegers to invade Earth. Jake and Nate scramble what's left of their forces, preparing for one final battle in Tokyo.
I thought I was kicked out.
Kicking you back in.
The Kaiju's true target. Their plan?
Mount Fuji is a volcano rich in rare earth elements. Kaiju blood reacts extremely violently with rare earth elements is the basis of my fuel thruster experiments.
To reach Mount Fuji and trigger a volcanic reaction, terraforming the Earth into one Kaiju-friendly wasteland.
You said we need to understand our enemy's objective, to know we've beaten them.
Which apparently we now know was the plan all along. The remaining Jaegers, Gypsy Avenger, Bracer Phoenix, Saber Athena, and Guardian Bravo rally for one final stand in Tokyo. The city, now a battleground of fire and rubble, trembles as the Kaiju storm through, each step shaking the Earth like a countdown to extinction. The pilots push their machines to their limit, knowing that this is it. There's no backup coming. Each Jaeger gets its moment, weaving through collapsing buildings and raining debris as they battle the monstrous invaders. Saber Athena darts in with rapid slashes, carving deep into the Kaiju's hide before it's swatted aside. Guardian Bravo cracks its electro whips, wrapping around the Kaiju's limbs and dragging it down before another beast rips it apart. Bracer Phoenix fires its chest cannons, the massive blast cutting through the smoke-filled sky, but it isn't enough. And that's when the real nightmare begins. The Kaijus merge, but not naturally. This is Newt's doing. Under the Precursor's control, he's been using Shaw Industries' advanced biotech to develop a horrifying fusion process. As the 3 Kaijus converge, massive mechanical implants on their bodies activate, locking them together in a grotesque transformation. Tendrils of synthetic muscles weave through their flesh. Metallic braces snap into place, and glowing energy pulses through newly formed veins. It sounds like the beast screams in agony as their bodies are forcibly molded into one, creating the towering Mega Kaiju. A fusion of pure biological terror and advanced alien engineering. The process is fast, brutal, and unstoppable. By the time the Jaeger pilots realize what's happening, it's already too late. The Mega Kaiju stands towering over the battlefield, stronger than anything humanity has ever faced. It looks like a walking extinction event.
All Jaegers, advance and fire everything you got!
Just when all hope seems lost, when the last Jaeger is barely standing, its pilots are running on fumes. Nate is injured, so Amara subs in and they decide if they can't beat it from the ground, they're gonna have to take it from above. The plan? Launch Gypsy Avenger into orbit and turn it into the world's deadliest meteor.
Well, this is insane. This is insane!
The boosters ignite, Gypsy Avenger barely holding itself together, rockets itself into space, breaking through the atmosphere as its systems overheat. The Kaiju roars below, its massive body twisting as it prepares to move, but it's too late. Gypsy Avenger comes hurling down like divine judgment, a steel titan turned into a fireball of destruction.
20 kilometers to impact. Get out of there!
The impact is catastrophic. The ground erupts, shockwaves ripple across Tokyo as the mega kaiju is crushed beneath the weight of the Jaeger-turned missile. Explosions light up the sky, sending debris miles into the air. But whenever the dust settles, there's nothing left but a molten wreck, and the war is over. And just like that, the movie reaches its fiery, explosive climax. Okay, let's review it. Pacific Rim Uprising had all the tools to be a great sequel, but it never really fully reaches the heights of the first film. I think it's safe to say.
Tell me something we don't know. Yeah, tell me something we don't.
And in trying to do something different, it lost what made the first one special. John Boyega gives it his all, but Pacific Rim movies were never meant to be a solo act. The first movie worked because it was an ensemble story. Yes, it was mostly based on Raleigh, but we also got Mako, Stacker, Newt, and Herman. Name the new characters in Uprising. Don't worry, I'll wait. Yes, I know some of you probably said Nate or Amara, but let me ask you, do you really care about them like you care about the original cast? Here, the focus shifts almost entirely to Boyega, leaving the rest of the cast underdeveloped and the team dynamic very weak. To make it worse, the sequel introduces way too many characters. The cadets, the corporate executives, the new pilots, and it doesn't give any of them enough time to develop. It kind of feels like the movie wanted to set up a new generation but didn't know how to balance it all out. The result is the characters are just kind of there, filling space and never really making an impact. Pacific Rim should never feel like a one-man show, but it also shouldn't feel like a casting call for a Power Rangers reboot.
I'd like to thank you, Pacific Rimmers, for all that you've given us.
And then there's the daylight problem. Every fight takes place under a bright blue sky, losing the grit, scale, and intensity of the original. I mean, why? Did you think you were gonna sell toys? The first film had massive, heavy mechs battling in the rain, lights glaring through the storm creating a cinematic spectacle. Uprising looks like a Saturday morning Beetleborgs episode. Clean, bright, and weightless. And that might really be the core problem. The sequel tried to repackage Pacific Rim into something more marketable, but in doing so, it completely lost its edge. The grunge, the weight, the industrial brutality, all replaced with polished CGI and faster pacing. It doesn't feel like a sequel to Pacific Rim, it feels like a reboot made for a different audience. So, the final verdict is, it's a decent blockbuster, but not a legend. It almost hits the mark. Almost. But what do you think? Did this movie live up to Pacific Rim, or did I just miss the drift? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, hit like and subscribe unless you want to wake up in a lab whispering sweet nothings to a kaiju brain like Newt. And trust me, you don't want that. Trust me. Hey, thanks for watching. Click here for more videos and subscribe to keep up with all the Blake's World updates. I'd appreciate it. All right, I'll see you next time.